this together? Okay. Thank you. And we also have in the audience today, Amy Fowler, who is our chair of our Environmental Programs Committee, of which I'm a council liaison on, and she's also chairing the Earth Day event that's coming up in April 22nd. So thank you all. So we're here today, as you know, to talk about and learn about the benefits of electric and battery-powered landscaping tools and equipment. This is really exciting for me to have this event because not only is it something that's important right now in this time and place, but because, and you may or may not know, San Mateo County and Atherton residents, whoops, I lost my power. I'll do it again. I don't think I touched it, but I can talk loudly, probably.
Yeah,
So, did it on?
it's on now.
Hello? Okay, it's on now. All right, so we get our electricity from Peninsula Clean Energy, and they get the electricity to sell us the electricity through 100% greenhouse gas emissions free. Actually, Councilmember DeGoya is on the board for the Peninsula Clean Energy. So if you have any questions about that, you can ask him, but it's really a benefit because using electric landscaping equipment and charging batteries, you will obviously not be adding to our greenhouse gas emissions environment for our environment. So I just have three really quick reasons why I think that it's important that we be here and learn about that. And it's climate change and state mandate and potentially Atherton mandates. We all know that greenhouse gas emissions are really bad for our environment. So if we can eliminate them in any way, shape, or form, it's going to be better. I have a little, what we need is a better battery microphone.
This one's
Anyway, well, hopefully we can get the microphone worked out, but I'm just going to close and say I'm so happy that Dan Mabe is here with Agza, okay, to teach us. And so Dan, take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Lewis. I am Dan May. I'm the founder and the president of the American Green Zone Alliance, and AGZA is our acronym. Thank you, Rachel. And by the way, I do want to thank Rachel and Ken and everybody else who considered to bring AGZA in for this day. Just really want to make sure that we thank some of the vendors that are giving their time today. We have Nexmo, we have Husqvarna, we have Echo Robotics here. They're going to be giving some presentations, and we also have a longtime colleague, someone who I've known for over 10 years and has helped lead this movement here in this area, Richard Ogawa from Gardaland. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, the American Green Zone Alliance. We are a leader in low impact grounds maintenance strategies. It's not just battery electric. We really strive to lower impacts across the board, wherever, for example, organics can be used instead of conventional pesticide, fertilizer, things like that. We definitely advocate for planting natives, and we know that we have a lot of rain and snow this year, thank goodness, but We know what kind of drought we've all experienced, and we definitely want to continue water-wise practices and principles. Our mission is to prudently transition this industry to quieter, more sustainable practices, and I want to stress prudently. It is about outreach, it's about engagement, and I really feel that that is the critical component to making enduring change. Applications are going to be city grounds, school districts, universities, and companies who perform high volume services in communities like this. We achieve these goals in a few different ways. Number one, AGSA Green Zone certification, that's property transition. We'll give a couple of examples of those. Service Pro certification, that is workforce engagement. That's what we're doing here today, although lightly, but we do have online certificate courses in English and Spanish, and we have more formalized certification engagements. And the other things we do is test entire tool platforms independent of manufacturers and give that raw data, X's and O's, black and white, to the people who seek that knowledge. Helps them make informed decisions when procuring electric equipment, which is going to be sometimes up to 60–70% more expensive than their gas counterpart sometimes. Okay, so coming from the industry myself, where I grew up, the man of the house was a high volume gardener. All of a sudden, I'm in this living situation as a young kid, and I'm going to work on the weekends. And I'm spending my summers doing this line of work with gas tools. So AGSA was created through the lens of operators. Noise, first and foremost, at the top. Here's our top 10 impacts of gas. If you look at the top left emission, we're in California. California has incredible, unique air quality challenges compared to the rest of the country. We have the California Air Resources Board. We do trust their science, and they have done a study that shows that SOAR, small off-road engines, has already surpassed light duty and passenger vehicles in smog ozone forming emissions. But make no mistake about it, noise is what everybody notices. Little known things are solid toxic waste on the lower left. That is the footprint of maintaining a small gas engine cradle to grave. Okay, so we all know it, but we're going to just reinforce it here. This is something that we go out in the field all the day with our sound measuring devices, and we've taken this data. Okay, here's our gas contenders right here. Right, power trim right there. It's very important to know that this is not demonizing our workforce. This isn't following workers around trying to get them in a gotcha moment. This is just data collection and part of the outreach. After we do this, we bring some of these electric alternatives that you see here and others, and then we start the process of helping them understand workload feasibility of the electric alternatives. All right, we heard that. Now we're going to hear this. Okay, so not only is it much quieter, but it's not going to be as powerful as their gas counterparts. We contend that. However, with the newer models that you see here up on this table, some might say it is almost even, but here's a situation at a school district. They used to strip this lawn clean with a gas blower. Now with the electric blowers, they pretty much take it from the edges and then from the hardscape, blow all of the debris onto the grass, and then they mulch the grass. Therefore, it's a more ecological approach to doing maintenance. Why is noise such an issue? Well, this is all of us. We could be at a party, we can be at home, working from home, learning from home, especially during COVID. Here comes the gas tools. You have the gardeners on the other side of the street to the left and the right. And again, it's nobody's fault, not the worker's fault, but gas tools operate at low frequencies. There are militaries that use low frequency technology against their adversaries. Low frequencies travel long distances and then penetrates barriers. Electric equipment, this is that visual. When you operate this electric equipment, that's the sound profile. That's what it looks like. You just heard what it looked like right there. It drops off significantly once you distance yourself from it. And that's across the board with all electric tools. Now, we're going to concede there are some electric models on the market that have some pretty harsh harmonics, pitches, and tones. This is why we discern even between the electric ones, which ones for the noise value are the best. Demand for chains, bans, restrictions, regulations. Now, there are certain situations, like here in California, where the science is there, the air quality challenges are prevalent. The noise is real. We are officially neutral on bans, restrictions, and regulations. We'd rather see carrots than sticks. But this is not going away because people have really had it. And they feel that they deserve a better quality of life, and that's across the board in all neighborhoods. This is a very well-organized movement now. It's over 200 and counting. Again, we would rather see engagement and carrots, but sometimes there has to be something put in place for these unique situations. But this is what we frown upon, because there is a fringe group that is very aggressive against our industry, and they're coming after everybody, and we hate to see this pitchforks and torches approach. It demonizes the workforce, and it's just not right. We really want to say, let's not demonize this workforce. Let's engage the workforce. Let's work together, and let's make everybody stakeholders to facilitate enduring change. I'm one of these people here. I wore a gas leak blower. I used a gas leak blower to make a living, okay? So just really want to stress, let's not demonize the worker. Okay, let's talk about AB 1346, starting 2024, going to be illegal to sell a category of SOAR, small off-road engines, and the clock is ticking. This is why we work and are in contract with the state to help them do this outreach. We are out there educating folks, just like Richard is through his business in Gardenland, and everybody else, all of the users, what this regulation actually means. Okay, if you look at the top there, that's the SOAR. That's what CARB is currently regulating. And you see there's a long list right there. That's gonna, in that list up there, the chainsaws, the edgers, hedge trimmers, lawnmowers, leaf blowers, a lot of that equipment is on the back of people's trucks. So we need to do this. We need to educate them, and we need to funnel them into the opportunities that exist where it brings the cost down in these programs, which we're going to look at. While SOAR was being formed, we went up and testified in front of the state senate. We gave our expertise, a lot of technical expertise. Again, we announced we're officially neutral on any of this, but we are going to tell you what we know. Because we have experience transitioning entire cities, municipalities, school districts, universities through a very phased, responsible approach, we were able to lend some of that technical data that was used to come up with some of these determinations. But again, we really want to make sure that this is not an asymmetrical proposition on landscapers in the industry. You have higher upfront costs, supply chain issues. Let Richard expand on that. You can speak to any manufacturer. And there's going to be some work production losses, although that gap is closing pretty quick here. This needs to be a symmetrical endeavor. Now, we all know, and you can do the research, there have been billions with a B earmarked for solar industries and EV industries. So we always come in and we point this out, and we are out there for this industry saying, look, we need this type of support as well. And you know what? They did something about it. We want everyone to know, if you're a homeowner, if you're a business owner, we want you to go out there. We want you to pick up these flyers. This is the core program. And the funding is running out pretty quick. But you can go into a participating core dealer, and if you're a professional, you're going to be able to get 70% off of retail off of this equipment. And the cap is up to $25,000. So we really encourage anybody here today who hasn't done so already, because the funding is going fast, probably a burn rate of about $80,000 a day. Please take advantage of this program. And we're here to answer questions in more detail following all the presentations.
And when do you think we'll run out of money?
July. Recently, AGSA partnered with NALP, National Association of Landscape Professionals, who are also looking out for the industry. We want this to happen, but we want it to happen fairly and at a timeline that's reasonable for industry to catch up, and to make sure that they're not asymmetrically spending money that could make their businesses unprofitable. Okay, I don't want anybody to laugh, but you're probably going to get a giggle here. We were doing this a long time ago. This is how it started. I came up with this term pre-lithiolithic, because when I started doing this, there was no lithium. And this was my company, the Green Station.
This is landscaping done on the Green Station. The leaves had fallen, the grass had grown, the need for some cleanup had clearly been shown. Whack, and low. Goes and go. And there's with a bird stick. Let's not forget a good old-fashioned brick, topped off with a sweet funky. All done with the environment in mind. And true landscape.
That's still my phone number. And I actually wrote that. I just had a horrible voice to narrate it. But yeah, that sweeper that you saw there went all the way to Germany to a company to import those. And we were really trying hard back then. Definitely want to concede that the technology was very challenging, but we were able to charge people 40% more, and there was a niche. We built this route up to about 70 clients, and it went pretty well. Okay, hold on a second. And now this is not the same video, but this is going to demonstrate the solar.
Okay, we have our panels up top. Here comes the wire down into what we call a solar charge controller. From the solar charge controller, we have a DC adapter. These are inverters with deep cycle batteries. The solar plugged in through the DC adapter. We charge our deep cycle battery up, and then the built-in inverter will convert the electricity from direct current DC to alternate current AC, and then we plug in and we charge the batteries that we use for the equipment that service the property.
Yeah, I was doing this, way, too early to market, but you can see, I spent all my money on that equipment and I couldn't even get a good pair of jeans. We were running through a lot of batteries. It was sealed lead acid, it was nickel cadmium. So when A123 Systems perfected their lithium iron phosphate modules, I actually started cobbling together my own lithium batteries. And these packs that you see here, these are the original ones on the market right here. And then I was interfacing them with the tools that existed on the market. The reason why we show you this is because when we engage with the industry or anybody, we really want to demonstrate that we've been there, we've done that, and we have the credibility. So lithium has been the driver to really advance this to where we can convert entire cities. This used to be, this is the future. Now it says the future is already here. Let's go right to the robotics. Robotics is ascending. Okay, we have a lot of labor issues, a lot of labor shortages. AGSA has done many projects with robotics. And to date, we have not seen robotics take anybody's job yet. I demonstrated the solar designs, which are very similar to others out there, where you have off-grid charging and you're completely fossil fuel free in the endeavor. This technology has a lot of capabilities. They're building stuff into the circuit board that help you track where the tool is, its hourly use, how much kilowatt hours you used, and then can even track how much emission reduction you've achieved. So this is a Briggs & Stratton diagram of a Briggs & Stratton engine. This is what I used on my go-karts, my mini bikes, and my snapper lawnmowers. Compared to electric, it is more inefficient in the way it produces torque. It requires more maintenance, and it's definitely more expensive. The technology you see right here is about this simple. You have a battery with a battery management system. You have the controller, and they are basically, they're programmed to tell that motor what to do. That drives the turbines in these blowers, the string on the weed whips, the blades on the mowers. It is a much more efficient technology. It's more simple. It can be more profitable. And when I say the word can, it can be disastrously unprofitable. Now I'm going to explain. If there is not worker adoption, and they're not taking care of the tools because they're so much more expensive, if they're not taking care of the tools, it can be a very unprofitable endeavor. But if you can get these tools in year 2.5, 3, the handhelds, you should be in the clear and you're going to get into that gravy period. It's not just about the tools. Education and training are essential. Contrary to what people say, you're not just using this, charging it up and pressing a button. This workforce really does need to understand they're using an entirely different technology to meet the same end, and that means aesthetic acceptability. The last 4 or 5 decades, we are accustomed to hyper manicured aesthetics. People associate that aesthetic with property values. We are now beginning to achieve that same aesthetic without gas. However, we feel that ecological approaches should be considered in that. Battery repurposing and recycling, safety issues, these are all real and they all need to be addressed. And this is why we get together with folks to make sure they're educated. Here's an example of a company who has solar on their trucks, and I think they only use the grid maybe 1 or 2 times per year. Okay, institutional programs, just some examples. This is AGSA Green Zone certification. We have 4 different levels. Level 1 is just phasing out all 2-stroke tools. Why? Two-stroke tools, they're the most noisiest. They're the most harmful to worker health. And you have to put two-stroke oil into the gas and mix it up. It's very achievable to phase out two-stroke equipment for routine maintenance. We do allow for gas use when it's not routine maintenance, where electric technology is not economically and workload feasible. You can go all the way up to number 4, which is the holy grail, all gas phased out. You're employing best practices, you're using organics, and you're 30% native and water-wise. Here's an example of a green zone. This is the city of South Pasadena. They were the first. How did we do it? We took one of their largest parks, that's Garfield Park, 10 acres of park. Down in Southern California, we have something called invasive kikuyu grass, and 70% of that park was invasive kikuyu. We are not political, and we do not message. We are data-driven, pure and simple. The facts. The facts came out that the workload, feasibility was doable here, and then the cost savings were favorable, that they said, you know what, we're not only going to do Garfield Park, we're going to green zone certify our entire city. But it was based on that data. Just to let people know they're not messing around. Anybody who does business with their city has to be AGSA certified, trained, or equivalent, but they do need to adhere to the AGSA Green Zone standard. And more institutions, school districts like LA Unified, a lot of different municipalities are now bringing in our standard. There's a lot of fanfare sometimes. Pre-COVID, these were big ceremonies. Top right, that's Alabama. Alabama beat a lot of people to the punch on a green zone certification. Lower left, the Hamptons in New York. Top left is South Pass. And then we did a golf course. That greens mower that you see there, it mows every day. That was outfitted with used Tesla Model 3 cells. Everyone's going, where are we putting the batteries? Well, we took used cylindrical lithium cells. We converted that mower right there. It's been working this July, 3 years, every day at our Green Zone golf course without fail. We've done 4 California state parks. This happens to be LA State Historic Park. You can talk to Abel Diaz and Marvin Menendez. Call them up yourself, ask them about their AGSA certified green zone, and they'll tell you what they're doing. Now, South Pasadena, with their green zone, has really used it as a staging point for community outreach, something similar to this. We've been out there 10 times. Our next one is April 6th, and it's just this robust, constant, consistent community outreach to let them know about the South Coast AQMD program, the CORE program, and to ensure that small business is included and that they are stakeholders and they are receiving the support that they need to facilitate these changes. So we communicate this progress and this success with something called ELF, stands for Environmental Landscape Footprint. It's a software we created because we hear a lot of hearsay about what our industry is responsible for. But when we do the data collection and we can measure the before and after, we can give that to you by the tool. The criteria pollution, the CO2, the noise reduction, the solid and toxic waste reductions. After those reports are done, we put them into equivalent, sometimes cars off the road or trees planted. Here's an example of one of our first robotic mower green zones, because we have robotics here today. We just want to tell you, separate of any company that's here today or any dealer, AGSA does our own vetting. In the green zones, it's not just to measure the lower impacts, it's to vet the system and make sure these tools actually work. This is a situation where this property is so huge, there's no power that can be run out there. These little, Husqvarna robotic mowers actually charge off of this solar system, which is remote. And it's similar to the one on my Green Station van where the solar collects the energy, it powers that battery, the battery is inverted and it charges the little mower when it comes in for a charging nap. And here's an example of a living, breathing green zone.
Okay, Dan May of American Green Zone Alliance here at the HOA. Ags is certified green zone through the Langton Group. Look at that little guy right there. Did that little patch. Now he's going to the next patch. It can actually cross hardscape and go and mow this other section.
Okay, sorry about that. So I don't know if you caught it, it was raining that day, okay? The other thing is that little patch where the mower is at, I don't know if you guys can see it, but it is more groomed than the front patch. Robotics don't mow, they graze. Some mow, but not like a big ride-on lawnmower or traditional push walk behind mower, okay? They are going to go out there every single day. You can time these things. We're going to let the robotics experts give you more information, but we know this to be working. We know it to be profitable for this company, and it's definitely a more ecological concept approach because it's micro cutting. All of those all the micro cut grass is just put right back into the existing turf. There's less compaction, so there's less necessity to do aerating and dethatching. Here's some of the eco robotics that are here today. They're going to be an AFTC robotic system, probably right at the end of spring. We're just down the last few hurdles, if you will, to vet these systems, but so far they've been working great, primarily at golf courses. This technology is so amazing. It picks up the golf balls, then it goes up a ramp and drops them in there. And then the other, we call it the twin mower, will mow the driving range and other areas of the course. And we've just been so impressed with the performance of this system. So to let people know, if you're an operator, I'm an operator. We're not going to tell you that this is going to do what an Echo PB770T is going to do. We're just not going to tell you that, but we are going to tell you that it can work for you, especially if you're going to adopt this approach. And if you're just blowing mostly hardscape, these things are going to dominate for you. And with these newer models, like I said, we feel that it's getting closer and closer to gas. We feel with the programs in place, with the cost reductions, now is the time. Now is the time to do this. Okay, so again, when we do our learning materials, we're straight up, we don't mince. We're honest with the industry, what it can and can't do. This is in the Northeast, and this is some of the testing that we do. This is in the fall. This particular homeowner wants these leaves up. They just do. Actually, that Makita blower, I thought it was very commendable, lasted 57.5 minutes at that CFM. It actually did a pretty commendable job, but this is futile at this time of year. Why? Because it's going to take 3, maybe 4 of those backpack batteries that could retail for $1,800. That is where it becomes economically strained. That's where it becomes difficult for this industry to do this transition, if you will. Here, on the other hand, this is the South Coast AQMD headquarters, finally an ag certified green zone.
This gentleman loved this blower. He was using gas and then another company's electric leaf blower, which they were not happy with. But, they're trying this with Varna backpack blower, and I just haven't seen such a big smile on someone's face in a long time.
And again, here's the situation. They were told you have to use electric. Then they went out and purchased electric, and they didn't purchase the right thing. They did not try before they bought. They were not educated properly. When we came in, we brought all of the Apex models, let them try everything, did the education, and I have to tell you, it made all the difference in the world. You can see that's dry hardscape. It's going to dominate forever, no problem whatsoever. So if there was a ban or a restriction ever put in place, we always recommend a seasonal restriction. Maybe in the fall, there could be some concession for gas use, and that depends on the workload and what's available, and is it economically our workload feasible? And every situation is different. People say just use a rake. I use a rake at my home, but in Woodland Hills, California, I live in a pretty red fire area, and I have 2 oak trees. I have to use a leaf blower. Of course, it's electric. If we don't clean up our leaves to a certain point, we can get fined by the fire department. So when it comes to things like that and safety, you're going to have to use the technology. I rake as much as I can. I broom as much as I can. Absolutely. But when people say just randomly, just use a rake or a broom, I say, put on your work boots. Let's get safety goggles for you and glasses, safety glasses. You come out with me and put in a full day's work. And I want you to feel the difference, what that feels like physically to only use manual people-powered tools when you are under the gun to make a living doing this. So again, we have to be compassionate and empathetic to the industry and their prospective business models. AGSA has identified 7 separate business models within this industry with different margins. The ones that are hurt the most are the ones that are most reliant on the gas technology, where they don't do a lot of enhancement work, and their margins are contingent on the speed of their service. This is just a fact. If an operator is expected to deliver these aesthetics that they are delivering now, and they need 3, 4 of those backpack batteries per blower, this is how much it can cost. But thank goodness we have these programs in place. And operators, I want to tell you, now is the time. Again, I can't stress it now. You could do this at the same cost as your gas equipment, but now is the time. And just we hit that home with the retail cost of this equipment. All right, moving on to some of the workloads of the string trimmers. This is another green zone city. being used up. I never ever want to hear from an operator, a professional, that this can't do the job, because I know it can, because I'm a professional and an operator. I know the workload production capability of this equipment. This is the city of South El Monte. They're a green zone. It's being done. Another example of a string trimmer. This can support 095 gauge line, it can support 105 gauge line. You can change out brush cutter heads.
Okay, Dan May here in Lemon, Illinois. Here with Tony and Four Seasons. He is using the steel FSA 130R string trimmer. And as you can see, the work production rate is very similar to a two-stroke. Fine trimmer. And as you can hear, it's not nearly as loud. And I'm shadowing Tony, and I cannot tell you how nice it is that I'm not breathing two-stroke exhaust.
Okay. We're out there. We measure the workload production of the gas first. Then we do the electric. Tony is 5'11". You see his brisk walking pace. He's not being slowed down. This is a green zone project. We had to prove to the property management, which is Prologis, by the way, who brought in our standard now. We had to prove to them through their best vendor that this could work. They were the toughest, but you know what? They've given it their seal of approval, and they're making it work with flying colors. That was 2 years ago. This was a year ago. So we've been tracking it. This year is going to be year 3. Same tool, same battery, same charger. Why do I show you this? Because we not only understand the workload feasibility, but we understand the longevity, okay? Is this going to get a business to their ROI, return on investment? Are they going to be profitable? That is very important, profitability. Okay, handling the tools is going to be one of the most important things. This is a high volume gardening crew in Southern California. We thought they would break these tools within 1 season. They're going on the 4th season. Why? They're taking our advice. They're mounting the tools. Before, they were just thrown into the back of the truck. Now all their gas stuff is in the back. Their electric stuff is mounted, and you can see they're even putting extra security on it. And we had given them the direction to do so. 4 seasons still going. These tools you see here, year 7. Talk about profitability, they are in the gravy period. They're killing it. These steel BGA 85 blowers are 8 years old, and we're still tracking these tools. Okay, safe and responsible charging. We're going to have a wonderful presentation from a brilliant person on that right following my presentation. So you don't want to get these tools. This is about $10,000 worth of amazing tools. And this is what you do not want to do. This company called us 5 times, and I gave them 5 30-minute pro bono sessions. Then finally, after 6 months, they called us in, and this is what we found. You see on the left, you have that homeowner extension cord hooked up to a power strip. This is not only a disaster waiting to happen. You see all the flammables around there, but they're never going to be able to cash in on the warranty because they have just misused and abused and neglected these tools. No respect for them, period, whatsoever. You know why? Because they didn't want to do it. They were forced to do it. Large mower. This is a charger that pulls 35 amps out of the wall. I go there, I touch that thing, it's a damaged homeowner extension cord. We're not gonna name names, we took the logo off. But there's manufacturers, you need to do your research. You need to know where these cells are being sourced from. You need to know if they're integrated, how they're putting their circuit boards together, what kind of quality components. This is a situation here where I think it was a combination of a less quality tool brand and then also neglect on the battery itself. We're just very lucky that that didn't turn into a thermal runaway event. This is ideal. This is Glendale, California. They just are. They're a green zone city. We're about 3/4 done with them. They're doing it right. They're getting the advice they need to set up these charging stations strategically positioned throughout the city, converting from gas to electric. You can see that little green box right there. These green boxes are right there. It's not a commercial. We're a customer of this. I had an $85,000 trailer stolen, all my lithium batteries in it. All of my lithium batteries sleep behind me now. I have an old house. I was tripping breakers. I fried a couple of chargers. I almost burnt my house down. Then I found this tow at PDM. It's called a power distribution manager. It really helps everyone with a turnkey charging solution, and we're going to hear more about that soon. But this is ideal. Okay, so Ken, this is for you, buddy. So this is Pacific Palisades. They really taken the lead. They have programs through Resilient Palisades where they're raising money. And they're actually stacking this money on top of programs that exist to help gardeners get into this equipment. Sometimes if it's a blower, 100%, but they have to demonstrate that they're operating in their community. A lot of these homeowners are also purchasing their own equipment, storing it at their estates. These are large homes, and basically they're allowing access to the equipment to their gardeners. And it's working quite well. So if the means are there and someone wants this dedicated equipment on their property, we really haven't seen a huge challenge for them to put it in a shed and allow access to it. And then it just seems to be working quite well. It's a concept that we feel hasn't caught on to a large degree, but certainly we know that it's slowly growing. We have like little Tupperware parties, but it's electric equipment. In these kind of engagements, we educate the homeowners themselves of how to safely store and what the proper storage and charging procedure should be when allowing their landscapers, hired landscapers to access the equipment. And then we do these workshops that answer all of the questions that the landscapers themselves have. And these are just some other pictures of these community engagements. You can do them with or without AGSA, but we hope that this inspires your community to pull something together and really engage the landscapers that provide and beautify for your community. And finally, it's really important that we're not going to be creating a problem while solving another. Not all the manufacturers are so gung-ho about making sure there's an adequate retrieval mechanism and recycling and or repurposing program. So we can always speak offline. If anybody wanted to call me, I can tell you which manufacturers are leading in that and which manufacturers may need some help. We do know that there's laws in place, but as electric becomes more prolific, I think we all need to really make sure that we're mindful, and AGSA is 100%. We're being very mindful to be engaged at the manufacturing level to ensure these batteries are being retrieved and then either repurposed first or recycled. If you're going to purchase anything, whether you're a homeowner or a professional, make sure you do it with a credible dealer. Someone who's been in the community for a long time, someone you know you can trust that's not going to give you the runaround on warranties. You should gather evidence-based reliability from peer-to-peer engagement. Don't take AG's word for it. Ask questions. Try to get as much information as you can before you purchase something. And research the warranties before you purchase, both homeowners and professionals. Okay, thank you very much. Before we go to our next speaker, I just wanted to see if we can field a couple of questions. I could take 3 to 4 questions, and then we'll get our next speaker up. Yes, sir.
So you did show the demonstration of like the leaf vacuum. We do have fully dogs that we use in the barns and stuff like that. Is there plans to do an electric leaf sweeper? Trigger?
The one that I showed that I had when I had the green station, it wasn't, it was all just brushes that kicked the debris into the back of that collection bin. We do know, when we were on GIE this year, we did see that Billy Goat and some of those other companies do seem to have something in the R&D lab where they're going to have an electric version of that.
Because that's purpose for us is inside the barns and stuff like that. You're not using the gas inside the barn.
Correct. No, it'd be, and we can't wait till that comes out, and also a ground blower,
Yeah.
you know, for tennis courts. Yeah. So we feel they're coming on. Yes, ma'am. There is, but it's going to vary from air district to air district. The incentives for the professionals are at the state level with CORE. And then I don't know if Bay Area AQMD is going to be using any of their Carl Moyer funds for commercial lawn and garden. And we don't know what they have here for you as homeowners, but there are like Imperial, Antelope Valley, there's multiple air districts that have stuff in place for homeowners. But we just don't know if the Bay Area AQMD, which is your air district, I would call them up or go on their website to see what they might have available.
And one question. What I saw there was the document. One of the big implementation issues is who owns the batteries, where are they charged, where are they stored? The economics vary between those. Will that be discussed at a particular time during the session, or is that a private conversation afterwards with you?
We can definitely have a more of an organic discussion following the rest of the presentations. But
Talk a little bit about
yeah,
the programs we've done.
Because it seems to me between the safety and the cost, and that's a real issue. And you also talked about blocking things up. These guys all get, you know, their products stolen. They leave their truck now, and they're a $200 piece of equipment. You get a $4,000 or $5,000 piece of equipment, it's gone.
yeah, I mean, just to be clear, battery is inherently safe, but we just want to make sure people are trained to do the right things to optimize safety. One, the economics, if you can take care of the batteries and the tools and get them to year 2.5, 3 years, you're in the clear. But you do need to be mindful of some of these things, and this is why we present these things, to make sure that they're thinking about it when they transition. But definitely, Rick's going to touch on some of that. There's been a lot of cases that we know where homeowners buy the stuff, they plug it into the 110 in a shed, and they're able to allow their gardeners to access the equipment, and it's been successful. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there a smart device to help charge smaller batteries like Greenworks 82-volt lower batteries and Weed Whacker batteries that would charge one set of batteries at a time and 15 batteries that need to be charged each night, and that means putting each on timers and on different circuits.
Well, it would be that right there, that little green box on the table. It's called a TOA PDM, Power Distribution Manager. You can stack those. Those are, you're able to, what's the correct term?
Yeah, never let you blow your circuit.
No, but when you stack them, Richard, daisy chain, you can daisy chain them together. So with that device, is the only one that we know of that's on the market where you can plug in and it will not allow for anything more than 16 amps. To go over 16 amps, they're gonna be safe, so they can charge to their heart's intent and plug into the back of those PDMs, and then you only need to plug into one circuit, preferably to a 20 amp breaker. Okay, Richard?
Thanks, Dan.
Right here. Okay, everybody, very good friend and colleague, Richard Ogawa. We go back over 10 years. And again, people thought we were crazy with this electric stuff. And just to be perfectly clear, AGA, Gardaland, all of the manufacturers here, we are here in the name of information and education. Purely, just to make sure.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I just want to thank the town of Atherton, council members, all the participating vendors that came out today to kind of be here to represent your manufacturing brand, as well as all the people attending. Like, that means a lot that you guys care enough that you're here, right, to learn more about this technology and how it can be implemented and how we can all be kind of more ecologically more social, aware of what's going on with climate change and everything like that. So my name is Richard Ogawa. I'm the CEO and owner of Gardenland Power Equipment, and I'm going to be speaking to you guys from two hats today. One as a dealer that supplies all this product to homeowners and commercial users, as well as a manufacturer, which we started 2 years ago because there was a need for products like this charging system that weren't in existence as we were trying to transition people from gas to battery. So I'm going to be kind of speaking from two perspectives. So starting out with Gardenland, we've been around since 1960. We're a second generation family business. We've been primarily servicing the peninsula area. And our customers range as far north as Napa and as far south as Monterey. One of the things we've been doing is we've been selling what we call Z equipment for 12 plus years, right? That stands for zero emissions equipment. And why we did this is because most of our customers have been the commercial landscape companies that service a lot of the Silicon Valley companies. And a lot of the Silicon Valley companies have already said 10 plus years ago that they don't want any gas emission products on their campuses, right? So we back then were using lead acid ZTR, lead acid mowers, and they turned out just to be disastrous. One, they couldn't hold the charge. Two, the lead acid batteries are actually very dangerous. We actually had mowers catch on fire, and we had to go through a tremendous learning process, you know, as we were trying to transition completely out of gas into battery. So some of the things that we found was because of this early adoption, we really found that now we're starting to see that some of this commercial product is actually going to grow much faster in the commercial space than people are anticipating. Right. And what they're finding is as soon as they start seeing the performance of the quality of the cut that you're getting from these type of equipment, that they're saying let's convert sooner than later, right? In the gas. We're not making it a slow transition anymore. And I'll give you a perfect example. Stanford University all decided that we want to be a university that stands for zero emissions. So they completely announced zero gas on their campus. That meant all their utility vehicles, that meant all their vans, that meant all their automobiles on their campus, including now all their landscaping equipment. Okay, so you can imagine now going from 5 or 6 tools in their fleet to now 200, having to charge now 400 batteries overnight, and all the issues and things that created. So really, again, what we found is that there's this really big lack of charging infrastructure, right? Like, how in the heck are we going to charge all this stuff, right? And these are the things that people don't necessarily think about as we think about this transition from gas to battery. Some of the challenges ahead, it's really going to impact local businesses like us, like dealers that are out there supplying this equipment to landscapers, to homeowners, are going to find big challenges. And some of them are, right now today, there are a lot fewer choices for me to sell equipment to you guys, right? Because there's a lot of manufacturers are saying, you know what? We're not going to meet all these stringent standards of California. We're just not going to do it. We're just going to be a 48 state compliant product. So what that means to us in California is our choices are a lot more limited than what these manufacturers offer in 48 other states, right? So our choices have really gotten slimmed down, right? And what that means for us, we've had very big manufacturers that have now completely pulled out of the California market. Honda Power Equipment, one of our biggest vendors, literally just pulled out of all Honda generators in California. So you'll notice, like, you can buy Honda generators outside of every other state of California, but because their new standard in 2021 or 2022 was a higher emission standard for California only, they decided not to do it, right? And we're seeing that trend happen with more and more manufacturers saying, we just can't do this specialized unit, right, for California. And the way you'll know that is if you buy a piece of equipment, it's got to be quote unquote CARB approved, right? Then it's a California approved unit, right? And that's where it's creating a lot of issues in just the availability of different types of equipment. Supply chains can't support the sudden increase in global demand for battery cells, right? We're the outdoor power equipment industry, and we're competing with the automobile industry, the motorcycle industry, right? The industrial, industry. So these are all challenges pulling these precious lithium cells from the market. There's also limited funding resources, right? We talked about, and Dan talked about how expensive the transition to battery is, right? And today, up until today, CORE was really the only program now that's being offered to small micro businesses to allow them to give a rebate for the transition into battery to gas, or from gas to battery. And then again, majority of landscapers, dealers, commercial landscapes don't have the proper charging infrastructure to go 100% battery, right? The person that's online just talked about that, right? I've got to charge all these batteries at night. I've got to keep switching them. I got to put them on timers. It's just not scalable for me, right? And then no one's really addressing what Dan had mentioned earlier. How are we addressing the repurposing, the recycling aspects of battery? So we see these as all these challenges that we have ahead. So what we really believe is we need a much more comprehensive approach to this transition, right? One of them is we need better strategic partners. We need to have a deeper developing leverage with manufacturers, right? Manufacturers have to work with California dealers, landscapers, cities, towns, municipals to come up with California specific products that address these issues that are specific to California. We need to build incentives not only for end users and landscapers, but we also need to build incentives for manufacturers to get them incentivized to invest in this kind of technology. And then really, again, push new technologies. Maybe in California, that's where robotics, autonomous, those types of technologies are much more appealing and adoptable in the California market. So how do we keep pushing those innovations? And then second, we got to be the solution, right? Like, we need to have high adoption type of techniques, right? One example, I forgot, you had asked a question about, are there programs, incentives for homeowners, right, to help our landscapers to adopt into battery? One of the things we're doing is we're creating packs, like home sets, that we're finding a lot of homeowners deciding, I'm going to buy my own set of tools, I'm going to keep them at my place, and my landscaper will just come in and use my tools. Right. And what we've done is we created a buying program where homeowners could collectively buy all these tools, and then their landscape guy goes in and buys it under his core program. right? But yet the tools stay with the homeowner. The homeowner likes it because their tools aren't being reused and bringing other weeds or other things from other properties. All of their stuff is there. Landscaper likes it because he's not hauling super expensive equipment around and it's staged at the resident's place where they have charging ability on site. Right. And we're also dealing with coming up with subscription models. We're allowing the lower adoption by giving a lower price point to get into the product. And the homeowner just pays a monthly subscription fee for the product. And then lastly, we got to build the eco environment, right? Like we need to have a scalable and safe charging solution, right? We have to have better portability of power solutions for our landscapers. And then the last thing would be better power management, right? As more and more people start using the grid to charge things, how do you think we're going to manage it? Right? There's got to be a mechanism to manage all this demand coming through a grid that's really not ready for this big adoption, right? The only thing you're going to see, what you're going to see is you're going to see some of these utility companies starting to charge higher rates, later start times where they get the cheaper rates. We're already seeing that now, right? So the cost of charging is going to be much more expensive. And what they'll do is they'll start regulating by, hey, now the peak rate time that if you plug everything at 4 o'clock and that will now be your new rate of charging versus now it's at midnight to get the cheapest rate. At some point, we're going to be regulated in that fashion. So this is what really led to what I talked about as wearing 2 hats, was the start of our next company called TOA. Here. Okay, so TOA Tools. We started this company 2 years ago. Again, like it came out of the need for this transition from gas to battery. Right? What is it? Well, what we call the zero emission revolution is really the legislation, right? The $12.68 billion OP industry converting from gas to battery. This legislation in California, AB 1346, that's pushing the ban of gas-powered small engines starting in 2024. So what we feel is that landscapers are going to face very significant challenges converting from battery to battery equipment, right? We believe there's 3 very significant buckets. One is expensive replacement cost, right? I think that we've shown that it's a 4 to 5x increase in price to replace that same gas tool in a battery product. The second one is insufficient runtimes. It's getting better, but the only way to compensate for the runtime is to add more batteries, which again adds to the cost of the transition. And then again, limited charging infrastructure. It's like one big feeding circle, right? You need more runtime, you got to get more batteries. That's going to cost more expensive, but then you got to charge it. Then you have a harder time charging it. So we feel these are the 3 big adoption challenges that we have to do when we're going from gas to battery. How can we make this conversion more accessible and affordable? We started with 2 steps. One being taking your existing gas engine. And as we talked about, where you get the most emissions coming right now is on your small 2-cycle engines. So all your string trimmers, all your pole pruners, all your extended head trimmers that use that 2-cycle engine is creating the most emission. So we have our first step, which is you take your gas engine off, you put our battery motor on there, and you have converted your gas tool now into a battery tool. Right? And again, it's 40% cheaper to convert it than to just replace the whole unit. And then step 2 is how do we manage and charge in a much more scalable and safe fashion. So our first is our retrofit tool. Again, we'll convert any gas 2-cycle engine by just removing the power head, the gas engine, putting the battery power head on. We have multiple adapters. So we're brand agnostic. So whatever brand that you have, you put that adapter in place, you may now put that on your new gas tool. Again, 40% savings by converting it. We also have a product up here. If you, after the presentation you'd like to see, we can show that to you as well. Okay, and then you go from zero emissions, from gas product to the most dirtiest product you can with a 2-cycle engine, to a completely low noise, zero emission product. City of Oakland, they had to convert literally overnight. They decided that the city was going to ban all gas equipment in their crew, literally overnight. And they had over 60 of these tools laying around that they just bought. It was only about 1 or 2 months old. We converted all their tools and we saved them 40% of the cost, of having to replace all that stuff with battery. TOA's smart charging system. This is the PDM that we talk about. We believe it's the smartest way to charge, right? Literally, it's a channel manager that you can plug in to the outlets. You can add as many outlets as you need, and we will never let you blow your circuit. Okay? And what's unique about that is the only other way to do it is you physically have to rotate all the batteries yourself, right? And then trying to do that all throughout the evening, it's just not a scalable solution. The other way is you add more outlets, right? So this is what you would have to do today if you were to add, let's say, all these pieces of equipment here. So you notice we have 4 dedicated outlets. Those outlets then charge all these equipment. You would have to need a new 100-amp sub panel, 4 dedicated 20-amp switches to just run basically those 5 pieces of equipment. Now imagine you multiply that now by all the tools in your city or school or wherever you're servicing, because you now have to go 100% battery. Can you see where the cost impact happens there? And that's only bringing the power panel to wherever you're at. You still have to bring in the service, right? And in some cases, bringing in a new 100-amp panel service to your location may not be possible. With the TOA solution, we take one circuit, you plug in our power manager device, and now I'm managing all 5 devices essentially with one PDM. And if you want to scale it, you just keep adding PDMs. And you can tether them together with a link that allows you to scale up and down. Okay. Here's some examples of some commercial users that have put these into their trailers, and now they've been able to charge all those batteries that are in their trailer. So now they have one cord coming out of their trailer, it goes into the wall, and that PDM manages everything in their trailer. And it will never let you trip the circuit, so you have a much safer charging solution. It's not like we go to the picture that Dan showed earlier where we got all these extension cords plugging into everything, trying to charge all these devices, and then have to deal with how do we rotate them all throughout the night to get it done. Couple success stories in our view is a landscaping company that went 100% battery. They no gas. They started out with 2 trucks. We helped them convert 2 trucks. Now they have 8 trucks and they're running 100% battery. And they use our TOA PDM to charge up each of their trailers. So now they keep everything in their trailer. It's one outlet out of their trailer charging everything versus having to bring all the batteries in at the end of the day, bring them in back inside the shop and charge everything up. Right? If you think about our other landscapers that are out there who live in apartments, right? Or rent a home or live in a facility that it's just not possible for them to bring in PG&E to add 3 or more 100-amp panels in their building. They have no way of doing it today. Right? And that's what we got to think about as we convert and as we try to transition and provide this transition for our landscapers. They need to have the ability to do it and the ability to charge. As we go to larger landscape companies, Dinsmore, for example, they use our smart charger. Now everything they show up in the morning, everything's fully charged. Right? And then even at a national level, Landcare, one of the largest landscaping companies out there, this was their chart. You can see all their batteries that they have there. So everything that you see now in the blue with the little green arrows, and see how they're all green at the far right, that shows they started this charging at like 12 something and they were done at 20. So it took them about 4.5 hours to charge all those batteries, where before they weren't even able to charge half of them throughout the 24-hour period because they're rotating them. Right, so this just shows you the scalability of what this PDM can do and the scale at which you need to charge when you go 100% battery. All right, so again, this is about how do we start this retro evolution. One way is to be involved in things like this seminar, but two, we also want to be able to present to you guys our event, which will start tomorrow, where we'll actually have 16 to 17 of the top vendors in the industry. There'll be 1,000+ products available to try that you can physically try on site, and it's all 100% battery. Everything at the expo will be battery. Right? People are. So I want to thank you guys for your time. We're here as a resource for you guys. We're also here for a resource for all the landscapers that are here. If you've got any interest in converting or you're looking at converting to battery products, we have lots of programs in place. In addition to the core program that you see there, we will have core representatives there. AGSA will be there as well to help you with these subsidies that are out there to take advantage of. Like Dan said, it'll probably be over in July that all those funds will be used up. So this is a tremendous opportunity to be actually physically get to a place, have all the vendors in one spot, be able to try them out and make decisions there, and at top, potentially save 70% off. So thank you very much. Yes. It's in Campbell, JD Morgan Park in Campbell. And I have some flyers here if you like that information. Yes.
So with the daisy chaining them all together,
Mhm.
and everybody that's coming in, putting batteries that are at different charge levels.
Yep.
Does the system know when a battery is charged and then that's how it shuts off, or is it just based on time? Or?
Yeah, no, it's based off of, it knows the capacity of the circuit, knowing that if it's plugged into one circuit, it knows if it's a 20 amp circuit, the max it's allowed to pull out 16 amps. So it'll keep turning on all the outlets until you've used 16 amps. When you go over 16 amps, it shuts the outlet off. Once the headroom opens up, so when one of the outlets, let's say one of the batteries start charging, it starts dropping. So it starts and maybe it's at 6 amps and now it's at 80% charge, it drops to 2 amps. It knows, the system knows there's that many amps left. That's how much you needed for the last one, and then it'll kick that outlet on. So it will never let you go over that threshold.
When you say the system,
Mhm.
what's the hardware that's the system?
It's all pre-programmed into the device. There's algorithms in the device that then does a 30-second scan every 30 seconds, and it looks for the latest headroom that's needed to start the next outlet.
And what's the cost?
These things here are 695. I'm sorry, 650. They're 650. So if you think about to bring a guy in to add a panel or just a dedicated circuit, it's like $2,000 to $3,000 to have some guy to come and do that. This is just costing you $650 to add the device. And you can scale that as many as you want.
What's the 650 for the main brand? Then if you want to add one more scale, what's that piece?
650 as well. So what happens is whatever one that you designate as the top unit or the main unit, and you daisy chain the next one, it'll know this one will then take the cumulative total of the other ones below it.
So you're getting full packs.
Yeah. Yeah. And in the future, what we're doing is our next evolution of this will be a master unit that can see all the power being consumed in every single outlet. So now you'll actually be able to get real-time ROI data that says this is how much it's costing you to charge. Right? And you'll be able to start and stop whenever you want. So if your peak rates are after 9 p.m., you can set a start time of 9 p.m. to start the charging system. You'll be able to look at it from your phone. You'll be able to get in via a web portal and be able to see all this data.
And these guys can be in your house
Yeah,
or even in a van if necessary.
in a van, and that's what's the beauty of it. We're brand agnostic, right? Like where most of these brands have literally made their own device. It's their own battery that you have to charge. Ours is branded, so we're just a regular 120 outlet. So you can use it with any brand product that you have.
So in your experience of rolling this stuff out, what's the biggest component? And then what is
Batteries, trying to maintain a scalable way to effectively charge these things. Right, and not just be the answer is not just add more batteries, right?
It sounds easy, but.
Yeah. Because the reality of it is, when you start adding more batteries, you just don't have the power infrastructure to do it all.
Comment, this is why, this is why when we do this, we want people to know that it's not just the cost of the equipment. When the industry is either pressured or asked or however wants to do this, there's an added cost for charging infrastructure. And that's a hidden cost usually. And we really wanted to make sure that this was stressed today, because first and foremost, safety, and then there is that added cost.
There like when you go down the line with this prototype and stuff, a PGA, that. Because now you're not adding more circuits, but you're actually reducing your overall wattage. So maybe PG&E would kick into that, say now you're reducing the overall draw from everybody plugging in 20 more, 50 more circuits.
Yeah, no, I think eventually it's gonna come down to that. But we're trying to solve the first problem, and that's allow you to charge, right? Give you a scalable and safe way to do it. The second part we're trying to do is actually give you information that's gonna actually make you be able to make decisions about what this truly is costing you, right? And then the third piece of information is gonna be, how can I maximize now? Whether that means my peak rate at 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. is much cheaper than it is at 4 p.m. And I can start everything at 9. And I know now from 9 a.m. till 6 a.m. the next day, I have enough time to charge everything, because now you're going to know as you plug these things in how much time it's going to take to charge it. You're going to be much more efficient at what you do, right? And it's also going to work with what you have, right? And so that's going to help you maximize that capability. And otherwise, what you're doing is you're overbuying for what you really need, right? You're going to be having to add all these dedicated circuits, and you're building it all for that peak moment. But the reality is you don't need it all at the same time.
Do either of you guys have data that says the cost of running a gasoline X is so much, the equivalent of the electric version is so much? Is because there must be a changeover sometime where electricity is more expensive to run electricity, isn't it?
Yeah, there is. And I think Dan's got several studies on what it costs to run gas equipment, what it costs potentially to run battery. But the problem is those metrics are changing. Like now the rate, the wattage rate, where it used to be, I think it was 7 or 8 o'clock was the peak rate cutoff. It's now midnight. Like in some cities, it's midnight. It's like you can't charge in your car. Like you want it at a certain point where it's a cheaper rate. And they keep changing that metric, and they will keep doing that as more and more people pull from the grid. The only way they're going to manage it is by raising rates, right? Because there's just not enough infrastructure support at all. All right, anybody else have any other questions? All right, well, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Definitely, we have ROI modeling that factors in cost of gas, conventional or synthetic two-stroke oil, kilowatt hours. You know, we have many templates that we can share, but recently we've added inflation.
Landscapers typically raise their prices after they get battery operated equipment, or do they stay the same, or what?
Well, some we know have, and some no. So depends on how they market themselves, and but a lot of these companies are not into marketing. It's word of mouth. They have plenty of customers. They're being asked to do this, and or they want to do it, and they really don't have time to market themselves because they're too busy. Okay, so moving right along, do you think, well, actually, do you think we can keep going here, or do we need a break? Okay, why don't we take 5 minutes? Yeah, 5-minute break, and then we're gonna have Gabe Fu from Nexmo come up next.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
Where are you? I gave you It's on here, but I put it on. Here, hold on. Wait. Yeah. It's robot.
Okay, I'll pull it up now.
Good luck and health.
Is it on your stick? Yeah, let's just put that in. I thought I had put it up here. I apologize. Get it in. Okay, there you go. Thanks.
And then just use the mic so folks on Zoom can hear you.
Oh,
About 15 folks online.
does it share automatically?
Yes. Yep. So you're all set.
And do I have to do anything else?
I'm just gonna see if I can. Oh, sorry, just minimizing that. And then if you want to do display settings. There you go.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, we're gonna go into our robotics presentations. Make sure you stick around because we're gonna be raffling off the string trimmer shortly after the presentation, so don't leave. Everybody, this is Gabe Fu. I'm gonna let him introduce himself and next on.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you, City of Atherton, for hosting us today. So my name is Gabe Fu, and I am the Vice President for USR Robotics. We're a service robot company, and one of our first products we've designed and brought to market is called the Nexmo robotic lawnmower. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about just robots in general and how they're changing our industry. If you think about, obviously, the transition from gas to battery that we've all talked about the last hour, one of the other big areas that cities and landscapes companies and basically everywhere you look around is a challenge with the labor force. And either being able to attract and retain the labor that you need for operating the municipality and addressing the labor shortage. So robotics in general, the key benefits that you can see here are the ability to redeploy labor from sitting on a riding mower or pushing a mower to something more valuable. Second is there's a continuous shortage of labor across the country. Everywhere we go, that's a big issue. Next is these robots in general are safer during operation versus a traditional gas-powered mower. So, and I have some examples of that. So there's an increased safety for the public. The other thing is it's a safer product for the workers. So there's a reduction in potential workman's comp claims and injury. So there's a good reduction there for the safety of the worker. And of course, big topic is the fact that these are all also lithium battery powered robots. So they're providing zero emission and low noise. And lastly, it'll help decrease operating costs. I'm going to give you just a picture of kind of the landscape of robotic mowers and what's out there today. Husqvarna started off, they were the leader in bringing robot mowers to this industry probably 10, 15 years ago. They have a lot of robot mowers. They have a series of robots, but they were the first to bring a system to the market that was kind of like a Roomba. There was a charging station, you buried a wire that kept the robot on your property, and then it mowed like on a regular system, like a scheduled timer. Echo Robotics is here today. They're going to present their product. They have a very innovative product that uses a combination of wired and GPS mapping and navigation. We have a product called Nexmo. It's the first wireless system. You create a digital map save all the properties of every park in your app on your phone, and then you can drop between 1 and 10 robots to do the work. And on the far right is a product, there's a series of products that are taking the very, very large riding mowers that have been out there traditionally. They're taking battery-powered mowers and turning them into autonomous mowers. And my point is, there's a robot for every terrain. So really, as a city, as you look at that, or a landscape company, you want to look at the type of terrain, the location where you need to mow, and you probably want to deploy the right robot for your city or for your business. And there is enough solutions out there now that keep coming in the industry that allow you to deploy the right robot for your system. I put down some basic information about the types of robots and how they operate. Some of them operate with an app on your phone. Some of them you still do a wire installation. Some of them have restrictions on how safe the robot can be to a distance object. Like most of them, you can get within a foot, and they use ultra sensors to stop the mowers to be safe. Some of the larger ones, like the wireless zero-turn mowers, you need to be in a large field. They're very efficient for large field mowing, but they can't come close to 10 feet from an object because they're moving really fast. But anyhow, there's a lot of solutions out there. Robot mowers in general are great for site locations with at least 1.5 acres of grass. They're not really designed for dropping in small locations and going from site to site, because you're going to get more efficiency from a person either pushing a lawnmower or riding a lawnmower. So, but they make a lot of sense in these kind of domains: parks, municipalities, sports fields, golf courses. And we see a lot of deployment around corporate campuses, university, and schools. So you want to think about, like, and as you engage with robotic mowing companies, I think all of us in general will kind of encourage you to look at larger domains. That's where you're going to get efficiency. So that's one thing. I do want to talk about the safety of comparing traditional lawnmowers versus robotics in general. So whether you're pushing a lawnmower or riding a gas mower, inherently, because of the design of that product, one is the mowing speed is faster, but the blade speed is extremely fast. If you look at a push mower, the blade speed's around about 3,600 RPMs. And a riding mower, you're looking at about the same blade speed. And what happens, because there's a rigid blade underneath traditional lawnmowers, if you hit a rock or a twig or anything, it's going to ricochet it out of the mower. So it's, they're designed for safe operation, but in general, that can happen once in a while. In fact, we were in Texas last week, and we were on a trip, and actually our company CEO, we were doing a demonstration. Somebody was running a zero-turn mower. He was probably 200 yards away. It hit something, and a rock literally flew across the field and hit him in the leg. So that stuff can happen once in a while. Robot mowers in general have retractable blades. So if they hit a hard object, the blades retract back into the deck. So in general, and they don't operate at very high blade speeds like a traditional mower, more in the 2,500 RPM range. They also have AI built into a lot of them. So they're going to detect with ultra sensors, they'll detect objects, slow down, either go around them, but there's a lot of intelligence that's being built into robotics in general that will make these machines more not only sustainable but safe. One of the beauties of robotics is, like a lot of, they're basically computers on wheels. We capture a lot of data. And what's really beneficial is we can now start to provide the data to help quantify the zero emission savings. So, for example, Dan had mentioned that they have a program called the Environmental Landscape Footprint. That's how he's helping quantify emission savings. Well, we actually can capture the data every time we mow and provide that data into his system. And that would allow like the cities to really quantify exactly how much emissions they're saving when they're operating robot mowers. And you'll see in the future, more and more features and sensors being put on mowers that can detect all kinds of things, but this is like an early baseline, but that's a huge benefit as well. So I want to leave you with one other idea. If you're considering trying robot mowers, these are some early simple steps that we found are a good step to kind of get into robots. One is find those early adopters on your team that are eager, because you can bring these new technologies, these new ideas to your landscape team in the city, but if people aren't that interested, you're not going to get any traction. So, but there's always somebody who's eager to try new technology. So find those people, get them involved, get them excited, and make them your core team that's going to help try this new technology. Second, just start with a simple limited scope. You don't have to try to mow every property in the city. Maybe it's 2 or 3 parks, right? Just define that kind of simple test bed and then set clear, measurable objectives. So easy for robotic companies is we can measure labor savings. That's one simple thing, right? So how long does it take an operator to mow a field or a park every day with man and machine and gas, right? Every time a robot mower is run, all of us capture the data, exactly how long it takes to mow that property. Second is cost reduction. We see this a lot, and I think a lot of us can help quantify that for you, but between labor costs, the gas costs, and all those other operating costs, we can help compare the difference between manual mowing and robotics. Third is emission reduction, because we can measure the actual mowing time, and we can work with AGSA to help quantify that. And then the last thing is you'll see that not only because you're redeploying some of that labor to robotics, you're going to see reduction in potential workman's comp claims, and you're just going to make the work environment safer. So those are things you want to do when you set up a test project. And then the next best thing you really want to do is get that project started quickly. And that's because you found the early adopters on your team that want to try, right? You want to get those robots going and learn how to use them in your daily operation. Because that's really the biggest thing is you'll find as you're operating the robots, what am I going to do with this extra labor time now? Maybe those workers can go do other tasks that the city couldn't really get to, whether it's repairing buildings or other things that they need to. And then like any good project, you want to gather feedback, and then that's not only from your team, but maybe the community. Talk to customers. Everybody lives near a park or a city, so you want to gather feedback, and you want to be able to provide that input on the deployment of the robots. And companies like us are like, we're from the industry. We're really eager to, we can design the coolest product, but we really need feedback from the crew. What other features do you want? How can we make our product better? It's only going to come from feedback working with people in the field. And then the last thing is, just as you deploy these test projects, just line up support for if you decide to move forward. How are you going to fund the project? How are you going to, get into the robots? And we have capability to either sell or lease our robots as an example. We're trying to create that flexibility. So anyhow, that's just what I wanted to share today as just an overview. And then I have a very simple video, and I'll show you how our robot works. So a lot of this technology existed in the agriculture world, the ag industry, and a lot of it's coming in the landscape industry now. And you'll see the concept of the smart landscape appear, because we'll be able to put sensors on these robots in the future to detect the health of the lawn. We'll be able to put other sensors that actually identify different plants and trees, and also detect the health of the agriculture on your land. Today, most of you probably already have a timer on your water system, right? No one goes out there and manually waters. But think of that as like the early adoption of technology coming into your backyard. And a lot of this technology will appear probably in the next 5 years. A lot of it, again, is not new. It's coming from the agriculture world, but it's coming in here. It's going to help us maintain the quality of the landscape around all of us. My pitch would be, you know, we're very eager. We have like a innovative product, but we're always eager to work with landscape companies and cities to develop the next generation. So I appreciate your time. And if anybody has any questions, yes, sir.
Can you say a little more about how you did that for the perimeters, the go and the no-go stuff?
Oh, yeah.
You do this with the white machine here?
Yeah, so if you on our robots, so our robots connect to satellites, and you can use the robot or that mapping device to create a digital map. And what you're doing is you're creating the perimeter of the property, and then we call them keep out zones. But it could be a flower bed that you don't want the mower to go inside, or if you had a break in the water line underneath the property, and that area was flooded, right? You can create a quick map there and say, okay, don't mow that area for 2 weeks. And then I can easily delete that keep out zone on our map.
You need the little white thing to do that keep out zone?
You don't need to, but you can use the robot to map and mow. But when you get to a large facility, it's a lot faster to map with the mapping
If you
tool.
put a special 2-week keep out zone.
Yeah.
Using a robot.
Yeah, you can do everything from a mapping perspective with the robot and mow. But we ended up realizing you need a faster tool just to map.
Get the mowing area. You got 4 of those in there. How do they know not to mow the same place every day?
Once you create the map, you save it on your
Yeah.
library. And then our system allows you to drop between 1 and 10 robots, depending on how big the property. And then it uses, when you turn them on, the robots detect with GPS that they're at that site. And they'll say, okay, if I put 3 robots there, it'll divide the mowing task into thirds.
Okay, so GPS tells them.
Yeah, so in real time, the computer is calculating how to divide the mowing task. Yes, sir.
So I know it's from a video.
Yeah.
In general, if you're dropping these or deploying these to a large field, in real world, are people putting them in the field and then driving to another location?
Yes.
So they can actually do something that needs a human being and then go back.
This mower allows you to drop them, and the crew can go to another part, they can leave. And come back and pick them up, or they can go to another location. Like we have them running at a Google campus. So the crew goes and does other trimming tasks while the robots are mowing.
How do you calculate the stone?
Good question. So there's an app. If I went and picked that mower up while it was running, an alarm would go off. Next, it's being operated by GPS, so I can track in real time where it is. And third, that robot is assigned to my account. So even if I stole it and it wasn't my robot, I can't have access to the app. It's kind of like if you get it's how like your Tesla cars assigned to your account. Same concept. Yes.
So with the new updates, just like in this law, just automatically.
Our system, our company.
People wouldn't have.
Correct. Yeah, our company was started by a gentleman named Stephen Chen. He is from the cell phone industry, actually. he brought all that technology to this machine. And so all the updates are, you know, over the air, like your phone would update. Yeah. That one is $8,500, or we have a new subscription model. You'll be able to rent it for $650 a month. Yeah. A lot of see, what's happening is there's all this new technology coming into the industry. Our cost of R&D and innovation is pretty high. So we're all trying to figure out a new business model, how to bring it to market. And subscription seems to be the way to go. Yes, sir.
The other presentation about longevity of your equipment, if you take care of it, the upfront cost is what it is, but is in general, like if you were taking care of this equipment, the lifespan pretty significant.
Yeah. So warranty is 2 years. I personally use Husqvarna robots, which was the early innovator. I've had one in my backyard for like 10. Because you basically replace the blades. The blades are little, kind of like little razor blades. You replace them versus sharpen them. And probably depending on how much grass you mow and the type, you probably replace them every 3 months. But the longevity is there. And the value proposition from an economic standpoint is, if I go around the country, let's say I was in Texas last week. So I asked this, we actually dropped off mowers in the city of Liberty Hill. They pay to hire one person to sit on a lawnmower in the heat. They pay $60,000 a year in just labor costs. Then they're using gas mowers. They have to buy the lawnmower, and then they have to pay for gas and everything. So let's just say we're just talking about the labor part. In 3 years, let's say he's paying $60,000 a year every year just for labor, right? Our robot, if they bought, let's just say they bought 2, and I'll just round up and say it's $20,000 a year. The entry cost is high when you're paying the robot, but every year after, they're paying for us, they're paying a connection fee, like your cell phone service. So they're paying like $1,200 a year for each robot. So the cost of ownership between robot versus man and machine drops dramatically. That's the advantage of robotics, is it can do repetitive tasks very efficiently. Yeah. And with our subscription model, we can even lower that cost going forward. But that's the benefit of robotics. Some of the robots, like the very large ones, you can't leave them unmanned because they're too dangerous. They're going at 10 miles an hour. So you literally have an operator standing there with an emergency stop button. So it kind of defeats the advantages of leaving the mower and going off and doing other things. But again, it's all early in the development of these products. So I think they'll all get, you know, more efficient and safer. Anybody else? Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Gabe, what I liked wasn't self-serving. Obviously, Nexpo knows that there's other robotic systems out there that might be appropriate for given situations. So again, and thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Real quick before we go to our next speaker, Christian from Husqvarna. I want to make sure people are awake in the audience. We have these hats here. I'm going to ask a question. Raise your hand if you know it, and I will only call on you if you raise your hand. What was the name of the company I started back in 2004? No. Okay, what was, yes?
Green Solution.
Close enough, Green Station. All right. Hey, okay. What was the name of the batteries that I made my lithium packs with? Hint A. There you go. Come on, knock it off. Okay, next one for now. What is my last name? All right, very good.
Come on.
Okay, if I can have Christian from Husqvarna come up, he came out here, all of the vendors, we really appreciate it. Let's go ahead and get you teed up here. Okay, you're on.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christian Kwong. I am the Robotics Territory Manager for the South Central Territory. I'd like to thank AGSA and the City of Atherton and Gardenland for all having all of us out of here today. There we go. All right. So our friends at Nexmo, they mentioned that, we were kind of the first ones to do it. This is kind of the timeline and how we have advanced the technology dating all the way back to 1995. We actually have one of these machines from 1995 still running in Alabama. You can look it up. It's quite the sight to see. But yeah, we've made several improvements since we started back then. Some of the more 2021, we introduced our first boundary-free solution. That was a pretty important milestone for us, as we now see that a lot of people are going to either mapping software and technology, or using what's called RTK and GPS as a navigation system for our units. And what our system is called is the EPO system, and that stands for the Exact Positioning Operating System. Now, in 2022, we launched Ciora. So what is Ciora? We don't even call it an automower. This machine can do 5 to 18 acres, and it was specifically designed to take care of sports fields. So picture large, soccer clubs, municipal baseball fields with multiple diamonds, outfields, infields, you name it. This machine was specifically designed to maintain of all of these properties. Let's talk about how it works. So our machines, our wired machines, work off of a boundary system. So we would come to your property or place of work, install a boundary, or what we call a wire, into the yard and create a positive and negative field. Everything within the positive field is what we define as the work area. And then everything that's in that negative field is what we define as the stay out zones, or, the non-work areas. So anything you're not looking to really maintain. On top of that boundary system, we actually add one more piece of wire across the property. And what this does is it allows that unit to navigate more difficult setups in your yards. So it's not just using the same means of return. So right here, we can see the charging station. That's where the machine's gonna, sleep, charge, and kind of rest whenever it's not working. And like I mentioned before, those red dotted lines would be what's called the guide wires. Again, supplemental wires to help the machine navigate more complex yards or setups. We also have the ability to create stay out zones with these wires. We call them islands, but essentially what you do is you create kind of a lollipop around whatever object it is you're trying to, keep out of that work area. So let's talk about the newest and greatest. Again, like we mentioned before, RTK, what is it? It's actually been used again in the agricultural business for some time now, dating back to the 90s. It was really used because of its precision. And now we want that same level of precision used in our new machines as well. For reference, the error radius for RTK is about 2 to 3 centimeters, which is way more accurate than GPS. So this is how our system operates and looks like. It consists of 3 pieces. The first piece is going to be the mower. The mower is going to communicate with what's called a reference station. So the reference station is going to be put somewhere up high where it's got a nice clear view of the sky. And then what you would do is actually use your phone and drive the machine around that property, similar to what the Nexmo machines would be doing as well. So you've created the work area by driving it around the property. And then you go around a second time and then you just look for anything that you don't want, oh, sorry, don't want mowed, right? So you create those secondary stay out zones for flower beds, pools, large trees, or, you know, difficult shrubbery that you don't want it getting stuck in. So these are just some of the benefits that we've really seen are the most important to either, you know, municipal entities, schools, businesses, and landscapers themselves, right? It lowers your operating costs. It's sustainable, it's green, it's quiet, and it leaves a nice consistent cut every time. Our machines, unlike Nextmo, are kind of designed to live on that property. And so we say we have the best employees out there right now because they don't miss a day at work. They'll work in the rain, they'll work at night, you know, at all times. But really what this is just another tool in the tool chest. And the best way to describe it is, let's say you run a restaurant, right? And you're automating the dishwashing portion of it, right? You're not lazy for it. It's just more profitable that way for you to focus on other aspects of the kitchen, right? But at the same time, this can only mow. And so, you know, you're not really replacing people inside of that kitchen. I got some time to field some questions here, if anybody has any.
The two questions on navigation.
Yeah,
How typical, how big and deep is the wiring?
we say anywhere between 1 to 2 inches. You don't really need to bury it that deep, because as we know, the deeper you go, you might run into something like fiber that's been installed already, or irrigation systems that already are in place, or gas lines, power lines, you name it. The deeper you go, the more likely it is that you find something. Sorry.
What's the wire?
Oh, it looks like standard, just rubber coated wire. I believe ours is 8 gauge for reference.
Is there a tool that you use to cut the turf or just?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually created our own machine. It's a trenching machine that we manufacture. It's got a Honda engine. Yeah. Similar to, you know, lots of our other tools we take.
It's on engine, it's gas, it can't use it.
Yeah, but we are coming out with a battery operated one. That's a great point though. And that was something that we saw. And so Sweden, in their infinite knowledge, is actually starting to work on a battery operated trenching machine as well.
Good, thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, Dan.
Yeah, so a lot of the feet, so autonomous robotics, in general, AGSA, independently, we kind of understand that there's still a human factor to them.
Absolutely.
If you could maybe expand with EPOS and the boundary wire systems from Husqvarna, what kind of requirements our people are required of them to maintain and manage these systems?
Yeah, absolutely. So similar to Nexmo, we have what's called firmware over the air, or FOTA for short. So these machines are constantly updating themselves so long as they have service, right? What that allows us to do is, you know, not interrupt it and have it keep rolling, right? Because the point of an autonomous mowing solution is to, you know, be as hands-off as possible. But again, there will always be that human aspect. In terms of maintenance though, similar to them, we use the small low power system on our cutting deck. Consists of 3 or 5 small razor blades that also have that knockback design as well. So if it hits anything harder than a blade of grass, it'll fold in. Fun fact, we're actually groundhog certified in Europe. What that entails is that essentially if a groundhog ever comes up out of the ground and gets hit with one of these things, it will survive that impact. You run over it, it might come out there a little bit more scathed. You know, it's actually funny. These machines are good at keeping some of those critters out of your yard and out of your, if you have a garden, you know, it's actually a deterrent we've seen.
One question, Rachel, is anybody here from Brightview, you know? So we have a baseball field inside Oklahoma. You guys do baseball fields?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, most of our machines are actually designed for some of those professional or semi-professional groundskeeping.
One of the fields. You could literally just use one of your robots to do that.
Correct.
Would you do it every days?
So our machines are designed to go out and mow every day. It's called micro cutting, as you mentioned. And what, again, it removes one more aspect of having to clean up after yourself because those clippings are so small. running to this thing. Sorry, I'm gonna stand over here. But it's a much better and economic, or yeah, I would say economic solution as well. Again, you're not having to clean up those clippings. That's one more task you have to do.
Typical baseball field, how long would it take to do that?
So if it's our Ciora unit or large one, that can mow up to half an acre an hour, I believe. So it would be able to do a baseball field in about probably 2.5 hours. But again, that machine is one of our larger ones. We have machines that can do up to half an acre all the way up to those 16-acre mark.
So you can use a smaller one, it'll take 4 hours.
Correct. But the advantage of our machines is, again, it's always cutting every day. So let's say you don't want to interrupt in practice. The machine lives there. It's going to go up, get up nice and early in the morning, cut all morning. Practice happens. And then it'll probably cut a little bit right before it goes to bed.
Yeah.
But it's not interrupting any of the usual activities that are going on, right? Yeah. I saw a couple more hands in the back there. Yes.
So I manage a golf course, and I
Yeah.
was just trying to think of the way that we mow our driving ranges. I need 3 guys to work a couple hours to pick up every single golf ball.
Yep.
Because of the way that our mowers operate now.
Yep.
They hit a golf ball, they chop it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I also have to be closed for these guys to go out and pick, so I'm not generating revenue because I'm gonna hit balls when I have 3 guys out there.
Exactly.
Will this be able to mow the turf with golf balls out there? Or would the golf balls still need to be picked up?
It's a great question.
Microplays.
Yeah. So let's go back to this Ciora unit back here. So one of the advantages of this new unit that we introduced is this larger looking one down here. It's actually a 2-piece design. So it's got a power head and a cutting deck. That cutting deck comes off, and then we're actually creating different sorts of products in the pipeline that you would be able to use as a secondary implement. So let's say it mows that, let's say it's got to go collect the balls in the morning first and then mow. It can do that. Now, Echo actually has a machine that it's an all-in-one design, and that would probably be your best bet for something like that for sure.
So you said for like events, it comes out every day. Can you override the event? So it's like,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Program did not come on today and stuff like that.
Absolutely. It works on a schedule that you can manage from your phone. It's super easy to use. It's very clear. You can actually, I forgot to mention this, but with our new EPOS technology, usually our machines do what's called a random cutting pattern with our wired units, but with our new EPOS solution, so the new smaller units and then this larger one as well, you'll be able to do that systematic cutting. So you'll be able to do, stripes, diamonds, checkerboard, you name it. I mean, it'll do most patterns. All right. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you very much, Christian. Didn't know you managed a golf course, but it's very befitting that we have our next and final system that's going to be introduced, the Echo Robotics, Jake. And we can have a conversation separate of Jake, because we're testing this system at 3 different golf courses, and we can just tell you what we find. Jake, let me get you teed up here.
Thanks, guys. So I'm the last one, so it's not going to take too long. It's great. You guys are really in an exciting time with robotics. We've got some outstanding people here. We all are doing a lot with trying to get robotics adopted in this country. And you're working with 2 outstanding, they're competitors of ours, but they make fantastic products. So the idea is, and I want to touch on this, it's very important. One of the most important things we can do to lawns, to grass, is to cut. And if you can cut every day, you're providing, from a physiological standpoint of the grass plant, you're providing an optimum growing condition. You're providing You're recycling the clippings in. Dan mentioned grazing. You're recycling the clippings into the canopy. When you do that, the grass is overall healthier because it's getting cut every day. If you consider a traditional mowing operation where the grass grows and you're cutting a third of the grass plant off or more of the grass plant off on a weekly basis, on a bi-weekly basis, what you're doing is you're creating a stress on that grass plant. If you can go every day and take a little bit off, the grass is healthier. It's receiving less stress from the aspect of actually getting cut. Because of this, it thickens. It creates a thicker canopy. It reduces the amount of weeds that are going to show up because as a weed starts to go, it gets chopped off. It doesn't have a chance to steal that sunlight, steal everything that keeps the grass growing. So your weed incidence is going to go down. Because the grass is healthier, you're going to use less pesticides. You're going to have a lower need for fungicide applications. You're going to have a healthier grass plant that's going to provide, it's going to be able to compete better against insects that are out so you're going to lower that amount of it, which is important for everybody. And you're going to use less water. If you've got a healthier grass plant, you don't need to constantly provide it with water. So the aspect of just the simple fact that you can cut it on a daily basis, which all of our products can provide, is going to give you a much healthier and much more robust product that you guys are trying to sell in various aspects. So whether it be a landscape, whether that be a golf course, whether that be a municipality, you're going to be able to provide that to your customers, and it's notable. Every one of us has seen it because we've been doing it for a long time, and it's astounding. I didn't believe it at first, but you go. I'm from the Midwest. You know, I grew up where our company's based in Chicago. And our test sites, you will notice it stays green longer in the fall and it greens up faster in the spring and it looks fantastic. So anything robotically mowed, you get that from daily mowing, you get that from constant mowing. And that's just not something you can provide with labor shortages, like we've all talked about, and the ability to go out and do that. It's just not feasible to be able to do that with standard technology. So that's why it's exciting for you guys to be able to get into this. The robotic mowing, it's been around since 1995. It's not a new type of idea, but it's new to adoption. And we're all coming up with different ways to help you provide it to your customer base and to get it into your businesses. I think that's really important, a take home, because first and foremost, what you're there to do is create a healthy environment for the environment, a healthy environment, right? So the ability to mow on a daily basis is going to help facilitate that healthy environment, which is right in line with what AGSA is trying to perpetuate with their programs for everybody. So I think that's a really important point that I wanted to touch on. All the two guys that went ahead of me touched on a lot of the things I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to go into kind of how our product works a little bit and then field any questions. All right, so we have 6 products. We have what we would call a random product, which is designated by our 2000, 1000, or 1200. So I have a TM 1000 that's going to do up to about 2.5 acres in random pattern. I have a TM 2000 that's going to do up to about 5 acres in random pattern. And I have an RP 1200 that's going to collect golf balls up to about 5 acres in random pattern. To answer your question previously, we do have a golf protection disc. So we put the golf protection disc under the mower itself, and it works in the range. And what it does is it deflects the golf balls away from where the blades are. It allows grass to get into the area to get cut, but deflects the golf balls away so that you don't have to worry about clean picking the range. We have several ranges that use just that product alone without any type of ball picking that goes along with it. We have an autonomous ball picker, but it just mows it on a daily basis. So you get that benefit without ever having to close the range down to clean pick or any of those types of options. So it's there to help you in that endeavor. And then we also have our GPS RTK, which we talked about, real-time kinematic, which is designated by our 50 products. So our RP 1250 will utilize RTK to work in pattern. Our TM 1050 will now do up to 7 acres in pattern, and our TM 2050 will do up to 12 acres. And this is daily mowing. And all these products are meant to be resident to the property. So they're installed, they're meant to be resident of the property. They're not meant to be moved around from site to site. They're meant to stay there and handle it. Everything that you can designate that they can cut. So real quick, just kind of some of the basics of them. This is what our TM2000 looks like. It's got a 41-inch mowing width, so it's a much larger product. Didn't bring it in here. We have it in the back of a truck right now, but we didn't bring it in. We will be at Richard's field day tomorrow. So if you guys are in the area and would like to see our product, please come by. All of us will have our products out there to showcase. And it's hopefully we have decent weather, so we'll be able to all have a good experience with it. Our height of cut will go from 3/4 of an inch on all of our products up to 4 inches. And our TM2000 product has 5 floating decks. So there's 5 actual spindles underneath, 15 blades in all. Each spindle has 3 blades. Our TM1000 product, as a much smaller version, in random will go up to 2.5, and in pattern will go up to 7 on a daily basis. And again, from 3/4 to 4 inches. I do not have a picture of our range picking because it'll actually pick in random pattern in the 1200 and it'll pick in pattern in the 1250. So next I'm going to go into how our product works specifically. So what we do is we actually bury a wire in the ground. So it's a help to help facilitate random pattern. And essentially what you're seeing on there is what it looks like in animation mode about what it does. So it's doing the same thing as everybody else. It's looking for a positive phase inside and a negative phase outside. When we add an RTK system to that, we can create a navigation zone around where that wire is. And we're still utilizing the wire to create the zone, but now we're utilizing RTK technology to work a pattern within that zone. We do this because it helps us to be able to handle situations where we get poor RTK signal or poor triangulation. Another aspect of our product is we also have to put in what we call a station loop. And what the station loop does is it's a secondary wire that helps guide the robot into the charging station, which is where it lives. What you're watching right now is a representation of our track border to track wire transition that gets it back into the charging station where it charges and is ready for the next day or the next work cycle. Works autonomously around the clock. So it works a 2-hour cycle and then comes back for a 1-hour charge, generally speaking. And then our robot is also equipped with a sonar system that'll slow down to bump an object. So if there's an object in its way, it won't hit it at full speed. So it's a bigger product. So if an animal were to get out in front of it or somebody on a park at 2.2 miles an hour, it's usually pretty frightening enough when something like that big enough is coming at you that people will get out of the way. But if it doesn't, if it hits you, it's going to hit you at 0.2 miles an hour. It's going to be just enough to know that it's there and then move on its way. It works in both of our random product and in our product that also does pattern as well. So that is kind of the gist of the product that I wanted to talk about. We've all talked about the benefits of it. So at this point, I would open it up to any questions.
What's your bump speed? So we have dogs that come out, there are horses that come out. Dogs love to chase this thing. Will it stop or is it going to keep on?
It's going to continue to go. If the dog is bold enough to get in front of it, it'll bump the dog and move off in a different direction. Eventually the dog will get tired. One thing I will mention is Canadian geese hate this product. So if it's an irritant to them, so there's a lot of in golf course athletes. I'm not familiar with this area, but in the Midwest, Canadian geese on golf is a huge problem. What this does, and I don't know what it is, there's no really answer for it. We do have active sonars on our product, and I think that has something to do with it. But the minute the geese see any of these robots moving around, it really frightens them and it actually moves them away. So one thing I would caution against is horse. Horse is going to do damage to it. If a horse gets startled or whatever, it could actually do quite a bit of damage to any one of our products. So that one, you might want to manage that, especially if you've got, show horses. You'd want to keep them separate if at all possible. Horses are pretty expensive animals. So.
Doing a 20 amp circuit out there?
Yeah, it's simple wall outlet is all that's required. both for our base station and for our charging station. Go ahead, Dan.
I kind of have an idea, but just to ask, because we have a golf course manager here. How many balls can the picker pick up in let's say an hour on the range?
So that is a good question, a common question, and it depends. The truth is, golf balls are random, right? So depends on where they are. What we can do is we can use our technology to isolate certain areas of the range to have it work. And we can do this in both our random and our pattern product. We call them geo-defined zones. So we can create a geo-defined zone in our random product to have it work, say, around 150 yards. Say like everybody's going out there and hitting their 7 and 8 irons to 150 yards is a preponderance of heavy golf ball density in that area. We can schedule the robot to work in that specific area more so than others. Now, if it's an RTK, it'll work specifically in the defined zone that you create for it. If it's a random product, it's going to work within a vicinity of that area from time to time. But it's difficult to say how many it's going to pick up in an hour. What it does do is it'll pick up 300 golf balls at a time. It'll go back to its charging station, drop them into either a ramp system, or there's other options that are out there to be able to manage golf balls. And then go back out to work. And then it continues to pick till it gets to 300 and then continue that process. And we call it cycling. And it'll cycle like that for about 3 hours with our RP. There's less motors on it. So it doesn't require, it can go much further on a single charge than our mower can, because there's just less demand on the battery.
So just to follow up on that, because I don't know if anybody's ever gone to a driving range, but people love to aim for our picker. How durable is it with ball straps?
So we have a pretty thick, heavy rotomolded plastic. The only thing that's really exposed is we utilize the sonars. And we've had situations where golf ball lucky strikes a sonar. It's been not really common. We did have these in test at Topgolf for quite a while. And we did see quite a bit of damage from that, but most of the damage was regarding the charging station that was kind of held out in the middle of the area. And that's about as dense of a golf ball situation as you're going to see. And even with that, there was only a couple of sonar damage strikes. So generally speaking, it's going to be very good. I tell you that, and you'll get one, and the first thing will happen is take a sonar out. But the truth is, it's very durable.
Yeah, I mean, just because I've been doing this for so long, there's always, I'm already thinking about where we would put the charging station and how close I would let it get to our heating bays and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Sounds like it's pretty good.
And that's why another reason to utilize that is it's true. You got to keep it a certain way. Ricochets are definitely something that you'd have to consider when you're setting it up. Now, a lot of times tees are raised, and if you can come up to the base of the tee, usually it's okay. But there's a lot of considerations with that, definitely. And we work with golf courses to be able to come, and Richard's group or whoever would be able to work with you to be able to come up with a solution that would fit your golf course.
So like with the storms around here, and our crew's not on top of it, and this thing goes out, there's like, sticks and branches. Is it going to deflect those, or is it going to map around it?
It depends on how big the sticks are. So if it's a small stick, what's going to probably happen is one of two things. It's going to go right around it. It'll deflect against it. Or if it's on a Friday afternoon and you're trying to get out of there, it's going to catch it and it's going to get caught up underneath it. When it gets caught up underneath it, it's going to issue an alarm and it's going to say, hey, I got something stuck. Head 3's blocked.
So it's going to alert your phone.
It's going to alert your phone, and you're going to be right in your car on your way going home for Friday, and you're going to go, and you're going to have to go back and get it. That's usually what happens.
So it will stop right there where.
It will. Yeah. It'll go into alarm and let you know that something's caught on it. All of the products, when you get into that type of a thing, there's a lot of thought that gets put into that. Now, it's an imperfect science, right? There's always improvements that are going to be made, but all of the products that you saw here today have some form of communication to the end user that's going to be beneficial to you to be able to help manage it, to help schedule it, to help control it, and give you data. And at the end of the day, as we start to justify what we have to do to create the new landscape, like political landscape that we're in, the environmental landscape that we're in, to be able to navigate that, you can never have too much data, right? So all these products are going to be able to interface with a portal, and you're going to be able to look at the portal and say, okay, what did it do today? How much area did it cover today? What kind of production am I getting out of it? How many golf balls did I pick up today? All those types of things are going to be able to, give you that data to help justify the cost of the machine, to help justify it within the confines of your organization, and to help say, hey, I've got this area and I've got this really good operator that handles it right now, but I need him to do other things. I need him to be in other parts of our company. Is a super valuable employee. I'm going to get him out of that situation where he's not useful to me. He's sitting on a mower and he or she is working for 4 to 5 hours at a time, and I'm not getting the other skills that individual may possess. And it's going to help justify those things too. So, there's a lot of ambiguities, I think, when you get into it, as far as how much money you're saving and what you're looking at. But at the end of the day, if you focus on what it's there to do and what it's going to help provide your organization, I think that autonomy is going to be really, it's going to be something that makes a ton of sense to every operation that we have, whether that be an Exmo, a Husqvarna, or all right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay, we're gonna do the giveaways. Before that though, as I would really want to thank the town of Atherton, all of the participants, the manufacturers, and everybody who logged in today online. Really appreciate your time, and all of us are here for all of you following this. Always, you can email us, give us a call. We're here to give you unbiased information.